This is Project Squad, a game I'm working on about exploration and teamwork. Recently, I've been getting a lot of feedback from my testers about needing to improve the visuals of the game, so this week I'm going to be rehauling how the game looks. First, I want to identify what exactly is wrong with the visuals right now. I noticed that the biome area is too glaring. The super saturated orange is just not looking too good. These walls are also a bit too rounded. They're supposed to look natural, but right now they just look artificial. And finally, the art lacks a sense of scale. Compared to this tree, the player is almost the same height, when really trees are usually much bigger than people. So, with only 1 week to redo the visuals, I better start working. First, I addressed the art being too orange by changing everything to be yellow. Later, I would realize that this was too yellow, but for now, I think it looked a bit better than before. Next, I decided to address the walls. These were quite challenging to get right since they needed to appear as if they were above the ground and not a part of it. At first, I adjusted the edges and corners to be less clean to make it look less artificial, but more could still be done. I added some shading to the edges of the grass, which added a bit more depth to the tile, but something was missing. It would take me a long time to figure out exactly what. Many other sprites in the game have a black outline on them to help them be distinguished from the rest of the world. However, the walls did not. Once I added them to the walls, it looked a whole lot better. Then, while adding these outlines to the walls, I finally realized that it was just way too yellow, and so I changed the palette back to be a bit more orange, but not as extreme as before. The last immediate glaring issue that I wanted to address was the lack of scale. To fix this, I wanted to redo the trees to be a lot larger than the player, so I spent a long time trying out different variations. Trees are probably one of the hardest things to draw with pixel art in my opinion. So I used a bunch of different references for different types of trees, going all the way from like an evergreen style to more of an oak style. At this point, I also began adding shadow sprites below the trees and walls to make them just pop out a bit more. I finally settled on this general shape of a tree, but I still needed to shade it. It was way too shiny at first, so then I tried to draw rings of shaded leaves, but it left it looking too simple. I liked how the leaf texture looked, but it was too flat, so to fix this I added blending between the different layers to give the tree leaves the rounded look I was going for. All I had left for the trees was to texture the bark, and I think it was a massive improvement. With the actual sprite work overhauled, it was time to introduce lighting. The game engine I'm using, called Unity, actually has a built-in 2D lighting system, so all I had to do is add a global light that is tinged blue and an orangish light emitting from the player, and it already looks like nighttime. The next logical step was to program the day and night cycle, which was pretty simple. The way it works is that the day is set to a specified length and the timer goes from 0 all the way up to that number before resetting. Then the global light, which acts as the sun, can have its color changed depending on the value of this number. I used a timeline of colors that goes from blue for midnight to orange for sunrise, white for noon, pink for sunset, and finally blue for midnight again. One nice thing about the lighting system is as the global light gets darker from the blue, other lights like the players will show more because the world around is darker, which I think is pretty cool. The visual update is almost complete, but I feel like the world is lacking movement. Particles are often a good way to add life to a game, so I added some leaves falling from the trees, which adds some nice atmosphere. Phew! In a single week, I was able to go from this to this. If you would like to play the game, I've linked its itch.io page in the description. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.